On tonight's adventure, we got the meet residents chef's tasting experience. Walking in the building right now. 5 courses, wine pairing, you know, kind of snazzy. Oh, see, that's what we're looking for. It's just kind of schwanky. It's gonna be a good time. Yeah. So stay tuned.
And also, like, if you don't want to ski, then you're like, my parents were.
That 1 year I was with my mom and I was
Oh yeah, it's a very light thing. It happens sometimes. So like I had shrimp once with the skin rashes. I just use that as an excuse.
David Coleman. Just a bit about myself. I've been cooking for about 20 years, up and down the East Coast. I've done the whole Michelin circuit. You know, I worked in Korea. They had 2 stars when I was there. I left. Now they have 0. I'm not sure what's going on there. Also, I was at Oscar for a little bit, but what's really more important to me is the time that I've spent abroad learning how to cook. I've been in the Middle East. I've cooked in Latin America as well as the Caribbean, and you know, I just really, with my food, try to bring an international flair to everything. So you'll see a lot of cross-cultural fusion tonight. It's kind of a dirty word with chefs, but more importantly, tonight is about someone very special in my life. This entire meal is about my dear wife, Amber Goldman, right here. So throughout the night, each dish is kind of like telling the story of our relationship. So I met my wife at a catering event, actually. This was the first catering job I had in New York City. It was for a company called Peter Callahan, and man, were they just really rough to work for. Like, but it was my first gig with them, and I saw Amber on the other side of the room. I said, hey, who's that? I just kept working for this terrible company for like 6 months and just didn't run into her. And I was at my last one, and we worked this wedding that was at the Metropolitan Opera House. This wedding was huge. It was probably like 600 plus people. It was all Arabian Night themed, and there were like 100 cooks in the kitchen, but I was shucking oysters the entire night. So I had to shoot my shot, and I brought her an oyster, and she said, oh, I love oysters. And then they tried to keep sending me home, and I kept saying, no, I'll stay, no, I'll stay. And then we were some of the last people at the event. And I asked her if she wanted to share a cab home, but little did she know I lived on like the exact opposite side of Brooklyn from her, and you know, got the number, and like the rest is history. So this is our oyster course. There are 3 different types of oysters here. There's raspberry point oysters. Those have a very classic mayonnaise sauce, just shallots marinated in cherry vinegar. There is a Kumamoto oyster that has a bit of a very mild chili crisp on it, so don't be afraid if you're averse to spice. And then there is a classic PEI oyster that has a skog on it, which is like a sort of a Middle Eastern chimichurri. So I encourage you to kind of just dig in there. I would say one thing though, the oysters are on a wet salt that is not edible. I would say do not eat that because it's pretty unpleasant and salty. But throughout the night, I'm going to be introducing my food, and my good compatriot Sherry here is going to be introducing the wine, and she's going to tell you what you're sipping on this course.
Thank you, Chef. By the way, well played. Hi, everybody. Yes, my name is Sherry. I'll be your personal sommelier tonight. And I just want you to know that I am not a snobby sommelier. I am certified as a fun sommelier. Okay, and that's I self-certified, but that's okay. In any case, yes, I'll give you a little description of each wine after Chef describes his dish. The first pairing, I have to admit, it's like a cheater wine for me because it goes with like anything, literally. So this is the grape of Riesling. This is my favorite grape on the planet for whites. Most people still believe all Rieslings are sweet. This is obviously a myth because what's in front of you is a bone-dry Riesling. The trick with Riesling, so the grape itself always tastes like orange-colored fruit. So that would include oranges, peaches, apricots, nectarines. Then you always get a nice little zesty lime. Then, depending on the nature of how they grow the grape and harvest the grape, it can be bone dry or syrupy sweet or somewhere in between. Now with that, it is the most universal juice, whether it's dry or a little fruity, to go with steak, salad, or anything with brine. So oysters and dry Riesling are one of the best combinations. In that regard, the only last thing I will tell you is this one comes from Germany. Germany has that full array of the sugars, and it's hard to buy one if you want to get a dry one, but if you really want a bone dry Riesling, you go to either Alsace, this is if you're in the store, you don't have to travel to Alsace. You go to the store, you go to the Alsatian region of France, or you go to Austria, and all the Riesling are bone dry, so it's a no-brainer. See if you love it. If you're a person who's hated Riesling in the past, I guarantee you will love this. Enjoy, we'll be back.
You wanna go liver guy first?
Oh, thank you.
Very good.
I did that one first.
How the order you described.
Go for the medium guy. You didn't say nothing about that.
Listen, I don't follow the rules. That was delicious. Why not? But how's the seafood for you? Don't worry, I'll make sure you don't look crazy.
Which one is your lunch bag?
This is the first time I've ever sat next to an winning award. It's like an honor.
A little starstruck.
See?
I think I just scares you.
That is.
Last week was very only stayed there last week when we left. I learned what our
Their food, I want you to eat it when it's best, and you know it. Hot food gets cold, obviously. So please dig in while I'm talking. So this course is called Corn States. I am from New Jersey. My wife is from Nebraska. Both states that are very well known for growing corn. So this one is about that. There's a elote salad on the top, which is kind of like the corn focus. There's also a latke on there, very classic Jewish comfort food, maybe Jew. I really like to bring that history to the food that I cook, you know. And then on the bottom, there's one of my wife's favorite things that I cook. There's chicken liver mousse. Chicken liver mousse is really a divisive one. I would say if you're opposed to any kind of offal, please give it a try. This is definitely one of my specialties. It's not metallic like it normally does. It tastes light. And the key to getting that metallic flavor out of livers is you soak it in milk. So I soaked these livers in milk overnight, and then I really got in there with my hands. I pulled out all the connective tissue and blood spots, so you just get all the stuff that tastes good and none of the bad stuff. And there's plenty of other stuff in there. Tons of garlic, tons of caramelized shallots, and I think it's a really nice counterpart to like the crisp and starchiness of the latke. With this course, we're drinking a nice natty wine, and I'm gonna let Sherry talk all about it.
Thank you so much. So yeah, this wine I just poured for you. Some of you might think it's rosé. It's definitely not a rosé color. It's a copper orange color. So this is an orange wine for those of you who have had many orange wines before, and those of you who may not have never tried one or don't even know what they are. Let me briefly explain. It's been like the hot new topic in wine for the last like 5-6 years, although the technique has been around for about 10,000 years. And simply an orange wine is a white wine. And when they crush the grapes, they let the juice soak with the skins. Now normally that's only done with red wines because you want to pull the ink out of the skins. So with whites, what it does, it soaks the skins, and the skins actually have way more robust acidity than the middle of the grape. And that acidity almost leans into brininess, almost like artichoke, sometimes even pickle or green apple skins or olives. So you get that brininess. Also, they let the wine be exposed to air, so the wine is oxidizing. It's literally turning rusty brown, but before it turns brown, it's on its way. It's more orangey. But as it oxidizes, just like if you cut open an apple or a banana on the counter and leave it on the counter, it turns brown. It caramelizes at the same time. So you get these little touches of caramelized apricots. Last but not least, as Chef noted, it's a natural wine. They leave the yeast in there. Yeast to me is sort of like the idea of putting a scoop of pie dough or bread dough in your wine. So the way I describe orange wines is imagine you have a scone full of olives and dried apricots. That's what you're eating as a wine. They can be really weird and lean into the olive brine like this one. They can also lean more into that apricot-y fruit and be less briny. You have to try them all to discover. But with the liver and with everything in the dish and the richness of the potato, the briny weirdness should go away and it should match beautifully. So if you sipped it on its own, you're probably like, what is this? But when you have it with the food, it's amazing. Enjoy. We'll be back. I'll have a shorter spiel on the next one, I promise.
It's actually
Where we kind of. We'll definitely do like three. It's a big community, so like they're on this one team, they like party and tennis and horses in there. It's like a yeah. And everything's different. I guess.
You think there's
Just got married.
Oh, really? Oh, were you excited?
I'm at the movie.
Yeah.
Birthday, yeah, birthday,
Now I like it even more knowing that he's from Jersey.
Right.
still smell that disco?
No. So I
love that smell.
tell everybody about that. They put it down the building. Yeah. Because the whole town smells like cooking.
Ideal.
That's a bargain. It's in the old city.
Like I've met her a million times, but she'll come to New York with her kids a lot because they're all like child models. She is just like
14th Street and West
nicest, like funniest.
Is a bit of a play on barbecue. My wife and myself are actually hobbyist barbecuers. We have like a little smoker in the backyard. So this course is called Blocker in the Garden. So this is like a lightly smoked chicken. We got maybe like half an hour of smoke on this one, a little apple with smoke. And then I braised it down in a combination of carrots and jus. And then once that's all braised, what I did is I like basically beat the hell out of it. And like press that down into a pan and put some weight on top of it so it gets this nice flat, almost like cooked pate. So then we pull that out, pan sear it, glaze it with a little barbecue sauce, and there's a little cornbread crumble on top. A little more of the barbecue sauce on the bottom, a little bit more of the cornbread on the bottom with a little bit of coleslaw as well. And then on there is a 3-nut conserva. So the 3-nut conserva is actually what me and my wife made for our Christmas gifts this year. We had a lot of nuts lying around and we figured we'd send friends and family a little bit of condiment. So it's basically just like nuts that we have like chopped up and cooked in oil and salt and then preserved it in that oil. So that'll be good shelf stable for pretty much indefinitely, but man, we have a lot of it. So you guys get a bit of it on top of there. Now you're gonna get a nice salty crunch from that. This chicken dish is a little experimental, so I'll definitely be coming around the table at the end of the night and seeing how you guys felt about it. But please enjoy. We got another glass of wine with this one that Sherry can tell you all about.
Okay. So the pairing with this dish is with a Spanish red. It's not your typical, Tempranillo grape from Rioja. We've all had that 1,000 times. This is actually from the northeastern part of Spain called Penedès, which is really home most famously to your sparkling wines of Spain, your cava. But they also grow traditional red grapes like Cabernet, Merlot, and in this case, a grape called Garnacha, which is otherwise known as Grenache. And then there's an ancient variety called Sumal. And Sumal is almost like a rustic, dark Pinot Noir. So the Sumal and the Garnacha have been combined into this wine. So it's almost like this dark fruited, slightly smoky Pinot Noir, if you envision. And Garnacha is sort of famous for tasting like woodland berries, stewed plums, and also a hint of a little bit of spice. So you put them together, it should be great with almost everything. Anytime you have any barbecue type essence in your food, go for wines that have high spice and high fruit like Syrah, Zinfandel, Garnacha. And this one's a little more tart because of the sumac. It should be beautiful with all the pickled elements and everything else. Enjoy, please.
Is all y'all looking so excited? These are like this.
Thank you.
It's your birthday month.
Yeah. Yeah, mine was up there like.
Okay.
Hey everybody, me one. It's been a real pleasure cooking for everybody. Hope you enjoy all the food. I'll be around the tables in just a bit to chat with you guys about the meal. You know, while I'm the face of this operation, I could not have done it without my lovely team. Taylor, Tim, Sherry, Daniel is somewhere else. But excellent sous chef and the servers as well.
They're doing their job.
Okay, great. Yeah, but they're great too. This last course is a Thai iced tea panna cotta. This is called Back from Abroad. Less than a month ago, got back from my honeymoon, and I spent a magical 2 weeks in Thailand with my wife. It was really one of the best times of my life, and my heart is definitely still there. So this course is dedicated to that. Obviously, drank a lot of Thai iced tea over there. They make it very sweet over there. So I toned it down a little bit for this one. But the key to making a nice Thai iced tea is you don't steep it like you normally would a tea bag here. What they do is they kind of like do a pour over with it because it's a very, very strong tea. So I did that with the tea that I brought back. And then I added a bunch of condensed milk, heavy cream, regular milk, and set that with the gelatin, traditional panna cotta. And then you've got a couple tropical fruits there. Some of the fruits that we really enjoyed while we were over there, some mango, as well as some passion fruit on there, and then as well as some finger lime. That's the little green, like caviar-esque things you see on there. A little bit of whipped cream just to bring that like new American flair, and then there's some candied Brazil nuts on there, which is my wife's favorite nut. You know, she likes how meaty and they're like very, very big nuts. You know, they really have a bit more of like a chew than a lot of other nuts, but yeah, it's been a real pleasure, guys. Thank you so much. I will be around in just a bit to talk with you guys about the meal. But one last time, Sherry's going to tell you about the Amaro.
So, speaking of strong tea, I don't know if you've sipped on your last wine, but it's not wine, it's an after dinner cure. In the category, what's called a digestif, which aids with digestion. And the reason is the main ingredient of this is a category called Amaro. Amaro means bitter. So yes, it's bitter, but what they do to counteract bitter is they put sweetness in there as well. But anything in this digestive category is usually from it's made with a bunch of herbs and roots. The roots are in that family of like mint and licorice. So it really does like keep you kind of moving in the middle gut. And so anytime you ever like overeat and you feel awful, you drink a digestif and it really just helps. And you'll be like, oh my god, it feels so much better. It really is amazing. To that end, the main flavor of a good digestif, and in this particular case an Amaro, is this sort of licoricey essence. I myself used to hate licorice, but when you have it in a cordial, it works with all the herbs and all the sugar. So you have this kind of black licorice, then you lean into all the colors of the brown and the caramel color. You lean into caramel, coffee, espresso, cola, root beer, sarsaparilla, tobacco leaves, things like that. Anything that's in that brown family is this profile of flavor. So it's bitter, it's sweet, it's cleansing on the palate, it's cleansing on the belly. Goes great with any dessert. This one is a brand called Nonino. Many people have had it before. It's a very light colored and lighter bodied Amaro. If you love Amaro, if this is your first time or your 10th time, this is a lighter Amaro. I like the ones that are like dark black and opaque and they taste like espresso and they're like really deep. So try a bunch. This is a beautiful one. Enjoy, and thanks so much again. Have a great evening.
Yeah.